So the past couple days it's been like in the negatives here in Illinois. And yesterday I didn't drive the van at all. And it's been struggling a little bit. I mean, it's an old vehicle. I don't know if it's the original battery in here or not. Oh, I figured it was gonna die. It's been struggling pretty bad. So what I'm gonna try is, with the battery setup I have, there's a function in the battery manager that is supposed to be able to send a charge from my battery bank up to my car battery, since it's hooked up to the alternator. That's how it charges right now, because I don't have solar. So as long as the cold hasn't drained my battery bank, which hopefully, I mean, there was 600 amp hours there total. If it drained all of that, then we have bigger issues, because that means those batteries are now going to be damaged. So this right here is my battery manager, and basically, supposedly, what you're supposed to do is there's this button that says push, and you're supposed to just be able to push this, and it sends a charge up to the front for about 15 seconds to help restart your engine. All right, let's push it. See if this works. Ah! All right, one more time. Well, apparently either my starting battery is just way too dead, or my battery bank is also drained too far, because it wanted to start, but it didn't. So, well, that's a bummer. And this, my friends, is why you don't live in Illinois. Okay, so we gotta take the battery out, because I'm in a driveway, and it's gonna be pretty ridiculously stupid and tough with how icy it is to try and push the van. You know, the van only weighs like 2 tons. So that's just not gonna work. So I gotta take the battery out. And for any of you who need to do that with a battery setup, hopefully you installed fuses or breakers. The reason I would highly suggest breakers is because then you can flip the breaker switch and kill the power downstream. So that's what I'm gonna do. This one right here goes from my battery manager back, so that's kind of the first line of defense. So we're just gonna go ahead and flip that. So now all the power's gone. Now the annoying thing is that it's like negative 20 degrees with a wind chill out right now. So my fingers are getting a little cold. Now we just gotta take the battery out, which is pretty simple. You got these 3 little hex screw bolt thingies that you got to take out. Mine are pretty much all the way stripped and rusted, so let's see if I can get them out. So now that we got the floor off, now we got this other plate. The battery sits right under here. All right, once you got the middle bracket off, got your battery here. Now obviously, maybe not obviously, before you start unconnecting stuff here, you want to undo your quick release, quick whatever you want to call it, plug here. Pull that off. Basically, just unscrew this guy here, and then this all looks confusing, but really all you got to do is unscrew this and take this off the post, because everything is connected to that. So I might have lied to you guys. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it. Oh yeah, do you see this little guy right down there? So I'm pretty sure you gotta take that one out. There's another one down there. I don't think there are any on that side. Those 2 little bolts, not little, they're actually quite large and long, hold this thing in there, which I guess is some sort of a clamp. So you just gotta take that out. And then in theory, gotta get all these wires out of the way, but then it should, yes, it's quite cramped in here. Just wiggle that guy on out, and there you have it. All right, so that's how to take a battery out. This is a 2008 Dodge Sprinter, but to my knowledge, they're all pretty darn similar, even in like the UK models. But I want to give you to show you if your battery dies and you can recharge it with another vehicle battery. I couldn't right now because of the position the vehicle is in. You don't have to do all this. You just get down here, pop your hood, get under here, open it up, and here it has a plus sign on it and a 12 volt. That actually runs to your battery. So all you gotta do then is hook the positive up there and then ground the negative somewhere on your engine bay. So you don't have to take your battery all the way out, or at least take your flooring out and everything to restart your battery via another car. Now I just gotta take this to the auto store, get it jump started, recharge fully. Also, so even though it looks like I did this in just like, 5-7 minutes, it actually took over the period of 45 minutes because I could only work out here at like 2 minutes at a time before my fingers, like right now I can't feel my fingers and I'd have to run inside. So speaking of that, I'm gonna go inside, warm up these digits because they are freezing. All right, we're back here. Today it's thankfully in the 40s instead of the negatives. So I'm gonna try and get this battery back in here. Just because the battery is dead might not necessarily mean that it's dead and you need a new battery. So since I took it out, I went to the auto store, had them put it on the charger and check it, and they were like, oh, it won't hold a charge, it's dead. And the report that they gave me for the battery, it says that it still has 600 CCA, which are cold cranking amps. Basically, that's relating to the power that it has when it's cold. And for a diesel, you need a bigger amount of power because it's a bigger vehicle. And that should be enough to get it started. So I have had the battery sitting on my charger in the house overnight, and according to that, it is fully charged. So I'm gonna toss it back in here, and if it starts back up, kind of great. After it sits for a bit, see if it starts again. If it doesn't start, then that could be a problem with the battery itself. And I got the battery back in here. Also, while it was out, I took the time to clean off both terminal posts and the terminal connections with some just baking soda and water, just to try and get everything as nice and clean as possible. And everything's hooked back up there. I just gotta take this little connector, moment of truth here. All right, that's a start, literally. But that doesn't mean that we're safe quite yet. I'll come back with a recap either way, but hopefully that's the last thing you see from me. Hello. Hi. So it's been a few days now, and the van has started up fine every time. Now, does that mean that I am just free and clear as far as the battery goes? No, not at all. We definitely have not had as cold of weather in the past few days as the weather that killed the battery initially. If it gets that cold again, it'll die. Does that mean that I need to go get a new battery? For me, no, not right now. Oh, van friend, hey! You always know when there's another van friend. The obvious signs. Anyways, for me, I'm not gonna go get a battery right now because I am still parked like at a house and I'm living in a house while I continue this van build. If I were out living in this full time and we're planning on going to remote places, 100% would just go ahead and probably replace the battery. Considering it's still kind of the middle of winter. Now on to the few things I would have done if I put the battery back in and it did not start back up. The first thing I would have done is checked the battery ground. For these vans, they actually have the battery ground going out of the battery compartment to the outside underside of the van. What can happen a lot of times, especially in the winter, salt is getting kicked up under your van, it starts to corrode it, and then that gives it a bad ground. If the battery gives me more trouble, I'll go ahead and check that out. The other thing is checking whether the battery itself is actually bad. You can do that one way by jump starting it with another vehicle, turning the van on, and then removing the tethers. If it runs, you turn the van off, and then you go to turn it back on later, and it just doesn't start back up, only half an hour to an hour later. It's probably a good sign that your battery is just not able to hold any charge. So those are things that you can go ahead and check yourself, or I guess you'll need somebody else to jumpstart it, unless you have like your own remote jumpstart kit. Hopefully I don't have to get back on here and go through any more of that stuff. I do not suggest trusting the auto store 100%. They're a good place to start. They do allow some great free services, but again, that doesn't mean that their services are 100% accurate. There's a lot of other gadgets and gadgets that you can get. You can check the voltage on the battery, but that doesn't necessarily tell you that the battery's dead or not. There are a couple other ways you can check batteries. I don't have any of those ways, but if you guys have any other ideas of things to check when your battery dies to make sure that the battery is actually dead, go ahead and leave a comment down below. If I totally messed some information up, also feel free to scold me and correct me. All right, until the next one, guys, peace. That scary moment when I have to turn it off now, which means then I have to turn it back on again eventually, which hopefully it does.